So before you start your site preparation, you really need to consider two things really: your services and where your accommodation is going to go. So for us, the services we have is electric, water and sewage. We don't have any gas. We're powered by a boiler, and our accommodation we know is a 32 by 12 foot static caravan. So here you can see the plan of the existing bungalow. The rather crude blue line is denoting our new build. Our electric, to start with, comes from an overhead line off a pole in that corner there. So in the video you'll see we dig a trench into the garden, come across this front garden, and it goes into a GRP enclosure on the front. This will then tie in to the new build, planning ahead to then joint that cable and run it into the utility. But for us, we then take that cable, bring it along this, dig a trench across the drive, and then run it up to the garage. Our water connection is in the drive here. So once again, we dug another trench and we take that up the boundary again along with the electric. So that's basically our two services covered for. Now the best area for the static caravan on this plot is actually rather handily up in this top corner by the oil tank to power the boiler. This also is the furthest point from the build. It was the easiest area to level, and it actually meant running all the services to it was pretty simple. The last service we have to think of is the drainage, and right here is the first service manhole cover for our foul drain. So that meant for us this was just digging a simple trench across here and diagonally to that service manhole, and that is a very rough plan of how we prepared our site for build. So now we'll go into each stage with a bit more depth, a bit of footage and some advice for you. So this is our electricity pole where a single phase supply comes off. Spoke to National Grid, they're going to run 3 phases down the pole. They're going to dig a trench, close the footpath for a day, dig a trench across to our exterior garden wall, then run it into the property from there. This is the view of the pole from our garden. There's the base supply going, that then runs into the bungalow, into our meter cabinet. So Simon from National Grid said I need to excavate, dig a hole down the side of that wall, ready for them to dig the path up, and then we'll put some ducting in. Then I'm going to dig a trench along this, sort of like along our garden, and this position here we're going to install a GRP cabinet where they'll bring all 3 phases in, put our meter in there. In that cabinet I'll fit a single phase board that I'll then run a 10mm armoured, that will then eventually run up and just temporarily into the As I said earlier, Ellie and I, we were quite prepared to carry out the work to get the electric into the garden ourselves. So digging the pit down to the footpath on the other side, digging the trench and putting the GRP enclosure up the other end. Now, we did this because you can save an awful lot of money. National Grid will do this sort of work for you, but if you want to save a few pennies, it's well worth doing it yourself. National Grid won't just leave you to your own devices to do it either. They will supply you with a detailed drawing specking out exactly how they want the cable to be laid, what depth they want the trench, what size ducting they want to be used. So you're not just going it alone, and you're not digging something that they may then come later on and have a look and go, I'm ever so sorry, that's not to regs. So the best bit of advice Ellie and I can give you if you're going to carry out this work yourself is always refer to your elevation drawings. Look at them at what they are currently and double check that against what they're going to be when your project is finished. So for Ellie and I, that front garden sits considerably lower when we're finished. So if we'd have continued, we wouldn't have that cable installed at the correct depth. And if we didn't bring that front garden to the elevation before the cable's installed, we would actually end up digging up the cable later down the line, thus undoing a massive amount of hard work and then forking out the money that we saved originally. So I can't recommend strongly enough, double check all your elevations. Once we brought it to the correct elevation, it was straight back to digging the pit and manual labour and saving our pennies, but with the comfort and the knowledge in that we knew we were doing it right.
Get my arms in it.
This weekend for the UK's biggest summer party, and we are absolutely buzzing. Kevin's with me right now. Hello, darling.
Hello, Rita. Look, it's been an extremely eventful morning. I've had more relaxed Fridays, but it's been fun. It's been an experience. It's always a capital. Always seems to be getting me good things with these. Oh, God. Last year was skydiving at O2.
So here's Ellie in the pit. Don't worry, the walls are prehistoric clay. There was no risk of collapse. And then this is my formwork that I built to cast the GRP enclosure. And here's it all in situ. So National Grid came, they've been and done. I've taken our overhead line off. They've dug their trench, managed to keep the footpath open. Now I'm just waiting on the tarmackers. There you can see is our new 3-phase cable and goes up and through. So already it's opened the garden right up, apart from my makeshift cable just to feed the bungalow till the caravan arrives. But we're now ready to start filling in our trench that Ellie and I have dug. Everything's connected now in the temporary box. It'll probably be here now for the duration of the build. But we've got all 3 phases there. Obviously we're just running a single phase at the moment, but once the new property's in, we've got it built, we'll obviously be able to have a super fast EV charger, 3-phase board. I'll get my workshop built, be able to get a lathe milling machine in there. God knows what I'll be able to install without Ellie knowing. And now while it's dry, we're going to make the most of Now backfilling a trench and filling in our 8-foot deep pit. Yeah, it's been all a bit of a blur past 2 days, but it's lovely now. We've got a completely uninterrupted view now that cable's gone off the bungalow. There's been a lot of prep to get us to this stage, and yeah, this is the first bit of infrastructure, permanent infrastructure, that's going to be for our new house in situ. So yeah, very exciting day, very pleased indeed. There we are, first day of some real progress. Weather's dried up, now creating the access to get the static on site. Hired a digger, we've hired a little 1-ton dumper, which our neighbour Ian's driving. Very well experienced vehicle handler there, can't do it without him. In the garage ready, we've got a rock crusher ready to process all these slabs and various bits to basically recycle, save a bit of money, save it going off site, save a bit of traffic coming up the roads. Yeah, basically a bit more cost effective. Just be warned, like, this sort of work has caused a stir, because obviously not all our details for our planning permission have been signed off. But speaking with the case officer, this is deemed gardening. We're not touching the boundaries, therefore we're within our rights to carry out this work. But it's always best, if you are unsure, just double check, get in touch with your agents, or get in touch with your case officer. Smashing job. Here he comes. I better jump in and get him loaded. He doesn't like to hang on. So this is our prep. How's it going for getting our static caravan in? We've got to try and widen the drive and get the back end of the caravan swung up to here. So we've dug out this front garden. We're going to salvage this old ironstone and probably use them as fronting stone for gambion baskets. So we've dug out down the back, following the gradient of the driveway, and as you can see there, we've hired a rock crusher, and that's been getting rid of a mountain of slabs and concrete that we've got on the property, ready to grade that and whacker it down. Got a little dumper, 1-ton dumper, helping us drop it all. One top operator there, Mr. Ian Brown.
He hasn't come today.
He hasn't come today.
Some idiots across the road doing it.
He doesn't charge bad either, to be fair. Just tea and biscuits so far, and he's even provided the biscuits. There's the earth that we've taken out. Plenty of topsoil, and then while I've been operating the rock crusher, Ellie and Ian have basically just been going around and picking up all the mountain of slabs that we've got around the garden, and we're nearly there. And we've done that pile, and that's taken about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, so not bad at all. Can highly recommend recycling your own hardcore, and this is a good warm-up, and we eventually take that down and we recycle the bungalow completely. There are Ellie's gaining her dumper truck ticket after we had Ian on it yesterday. So we're just grading off the last little bit, ready to begin stone crushing. The mount isn't as big as what I first thought it was going to be. He's flying all over the shop now. Contemplated buying kit, but the amount we're going to use stuff, it's just far better just to hire for our own sake. So here we are, pretty much the front all dug out now, ready to stone, just cleaning up after ourselves so we don't annoy the village. Then we're in out. Ellie's about earned her ticket for the broom now. She's gained a ticket for the dumper after today. Yeah, so this will all be temporary standing, as we've said before. Whacker this down, that way then we won't be holding anything up on the road. We'll have deliveries, when we have kit dropped, and hopefully when it comes to dropping the bungalow, this is where a lot of the plant can sit, making it a lot more efficient use of space. But isn't that right, Mush? Almost the final bit of grading the driveway. Jim Orchid and Dad at the helm. Proper job. Making it so much easier having an experienced handler on the digger. Big real test. Getting an 8-wheeler up the improvised driveway. I think the driver's done an absolutely belting job. After the rain yesterday, we didn't have a chance to get this whackered too much at all, and the whacker gave up the ghost, so that wasn't too helpful. But a bit of shunting, tiny bit of wheel spinning, he's done a smashing job. So I think once this is all whackered and dried out after all the rain we had yesterday, we should be laughing. No, really pleased, big day. First proper vehicle to drive, nice one. We're here at Nationwide Caravans, and we might have found our new home for the next few years. It's a classic Bromley Delta, single glazed, but we reckon we can put our boiler into it. We can take some of the furniture out, chop and change it. Reckon we'll get a log burner in there, won't we, Al? Yeah, could be the new home. We did end up getting that caravan, and then this is the footage of how we built a base. So we used repurposed telegraph poles, and we then infilled the telegraph poles to the highest level with hardcore, and that provided a really substantial base for the caravan to be sat on. So all told, building the static base and widening the driveway and doing the temporary hard standing took about 2 to 3 months, which I thought was really good going, as we had an awful lot of material to remove from that front garden. Now, as you can see here, you can see all that stone, that what looks like bought in type 1. Not an inch of that was bought in. That is all concrete slabs from the garden that Ellie, I and our neighbour Ian over the road have just found in the garden and ran through that crusher. Can't recommend that enough. We can then see our static base with the telegraph poles. The hardcore in that is what we took from a neighbour who was getting rid of a retaining wall in their garden. So once again, we've repurposed their hardcore. Once that work was complete, it was delivery day, and you can see the static travelling across the main road, ready to drop down into the village. This was a very nerve-wracking day for Ellie and I. Although we'd put a lot of attention and work into making sure that driveway was wide enough, we didn't know until it was actually going to happen.
There's Chris. There's the escort. Here comes our new home.
So our work wasn't all in vain. The caravan did fit, but I have to admit a lot of this was down to the skilled driver from Nationwide Caravans. There was about an inch of play before the back of that wagon was going to ground out. Luckily, it didn't. When they roll the caravan off their ramps and off the wagon, they can actually position it exactly where you want it. Now, this didn't happen for us, and it was nothing to do with Nationwide Caravans. It was my own fault. I'd given them the wrong distance to stop the wagon at. So when they rolled it off, we were sort of 3/4 on the static base, 1/4 off. This was just an incredibly good day for Ellie and I. An awful lot of work had been put in to get to this point, and it was just nothing sweeter than seeing that roll off those ramps. As you can see, Ian's come over, we've given him a cup of tea. He was also integral in making this day happen, and we basically needed him and his Massey 135 to put the caravan in its final resting place after my little mishap in the positioning. So with the power of a little Massey 135 top handler, the caravan is now sighted and in bubble level, not true level, but yeah, we're as good as there now. Took a bit of shunting and grunting, but yeah, smashing job. Apologies if you can't hear me over the strimmer at the back, but I've just spent the morning propping and getting the caravan super level, and now I'm just starting the electrical installation, just doing sort of like the first fix work. And with it being a caravan, there's certain regulations. I know the house is on what you'd say, the bungalow, sorry, is on what we call a PME system, TNCS, which for static caravan sites in the regs book, there's a whole different kettle of fish, and it's a bit frowned upon if they're on a PME or TNCS system. So to get around it, this is currently my little project at the moment, is I'm just installing an earth rod at the rear, and this will be the means of earth completely separate from the main installation. You can see my makeshift props underneath the caravan. So yeah, that's what we're on today. So the next job was then to bring the electric and the water from their source up to the caravan. So the first job was to dig the trench across the drive for us to bury the 16mm armoured. So Steph and I did this, good day's work, got the trench dug and laid the 16mm armoured in, and topped that trench off with more recycled slabs that we'd crushed from the garden. We then had to do the water supply. So Ellie had contacted Anglian Water about making this connection for us, and I'm sure there must have been some confusion on their part because they quoted us £7,000 to make this connection. All we did was dig down our side of the meter, expose that connection that you're seeing in front of you, which has got the blue pipe coming from the meter, the compression gland and the original copper that's running somewhere to the bungalow. Cut into that, change that compression gland for an elbow and join the new water pipe onto it that then runs all the way up the boundary along with the 16mm armoured all the way up to the garage that then goes into the caravan. So the water pipe, because it runs all external, there's only a small part of it buried at the meter. We lagged it and we actually bought, I think it's 25mm or 35mm diameter lagging, and to this day it hasn't frozen. We've had -6. It froze ever so slightly, but just to the point where if you continue to run the tap, after about half an hour of dripping, it thawed out. So Ellie and I can strongly recommend, if you are going to run your services exterior, especially water, pay a little bit extra for that thicker lagging, because you'll thank yourself in the long term. So we didn't record any of this yesterday because we were just going full gas, but we've now dug the trench ready to put the drains in for the static. We've got down to the manhole, which is a good old metre deep down there, so I'll core drill into that to slide the pipe into it. But today we're just going to be putting it all together. We've done the right sort of fall in the trench, which I reckon is a 1 in 4. We've got to do a bit of a swan neck at the end so we're not digging underneath the caravan. But yeah, it was a hard day yesterday, but we're all dug, we're all level, and here's the workforce turning up now. Right, better get cracking. Heating wise, we ended up getting rid of all the gas appliances from the caravan. I just had it in the back of my mind, I didn't trust them. So we removed the gas fire and bought ourselves a Machine Mart special offer log burner. This was quite hard to fit, especially when it came to cutting a gaping hole into the roof of our, at that present time, a watertight caravan. But once it was in, it now works perfectly, and as you can see, we're still burning the floor joists and floorboards that we recycled from the bungalow, and they burn an absolute treat. No caravan is complete without its own decking, so in the short summer that we had, Ellie and I set to work building a decking for our caravan. This proved an awful lot harder than what we first thought. Every post hole we dug, there was hardcore, because this ground that the caravan is sat on is made up ground. So you can see from this picture here, we had sections of reinforced garage, we had concrete fence posts under there. On multiple occasions, I was actually digging the hole with the angle grinder, having to cut the reinforcing steel out from the hole. This decking not only finished off the caravan really nicely, but it was actually the most level seating area in the whole plot, as nowhere on the garden is flat, which is absolutely infuriating. So we really do appreciate it now, although we thought we were finished with the decking until Daisy decided to do a jump off the edge, as you can see from the security camera footage, and that prompted us then to fit some rails along the bottom and part way, just to stop any accidents and any more death-defying stunts from Daisy.